In the top stories, gospel concert kicks off government's anniversary week of activities. Government officials meet with the residents at town hall meeting in Nevis. And Minister Brantley gives an update on efforts to re-establish visa-free travel to Canada. The details on these stories and more after the break.
Love is in the air at Courts. Make your credit purchase of $499 and over for your big chance at winning an all-inclusive weekend getaway for two to the lovely island of St. Lucia. Plus, when you shop, you pay nothing for 30 days. This offer valid from February 6 to 18. Love is in the air, so celebrate with a romantic weekend getaway. Don't wait. Shop at Courts today. Courts, bringing value home.
Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Channel 5 newscast. I'm Carla Berridge. As part of its 2-year anniversary celebrations, the Team Unity administration hosted its gospel extravaganza at Greenlands Park on Sunday evening.
Thousands attended the Team Unity administration's gospel extravaganza held on Sunday evening. During the concert, Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris thanked all in attendance for their support.
I want to say thank you to the thousands of you who have come out tonight at Greenlands to celebrate the 2nd anniversary of your Team Unity government. To all of you from the bottom of my heart and the hearts of the members of the cabinet, I say thank you. May God bless you and may He lead us on to prosperity.
Prime Minister Harris said he wanted persons to understand that the concert was specially organized for the people.
The government has been doing a fantastic job. And we thank you for your patience, for your love, and for your prayers. Many said this coming together could not have happened. And yet God said it must happen for St. Kitts and Nevis. So tonight it is about you. And for the rest of our many years in government, we will be in service to you.
He also gave recognition to Chairman of the Anniversary Celebrations Organizing Committee, Ambassador Sidney Osborne.
I want to thank Ambassador Sidney Osborne, who has organized this event, and he had good help, excellent assistance from the Radical Praise Festival team. Give them a round of applause. The young people who are presiding over tonight's event.
The gospel concert featured several local entertainers, including Radical Praise, the African Worship Team, Ali D, and Orville Liddy. Persons were also treated to a performance by headliner, American gospel singer and songwriter Jonathan Nelson, who captured the audience's attention with his hit songs, including I Believe or So Long Bye Bye. The week of activities will continue on Tuesday, February 14th, with cabinet ministers and other government officials holding wide-ranging consultations with community members from 4 p.m. Reporting for ZIZ News, I am Shaira Flanders.
The week of activities celebrating the government's 2nd anniversary in office continues this evening with a Good Governance and Accountability for Prosperity Town Hall meeting at the St. Paul's Anglican Church Hall in Charlestown, Nevis from 7:30 p.m. The organizing committee has arranged for free transportation of persons who wish to attend the town hall in Nevis via the MV Carib Queen. The boat left St. Kitts at 6 p.m. and will make a return trip from Nevis half an hour after the town hall ends. The town hall meeting will feature addresses by Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, as well as Premier of Nevis Honorable Vance Amory and Deputy Premier Honorable Mark Brantley. The week of activities will continue on Tuesday, 14th February, with cabinet ministers and other government officials holding wide-ranging consultations with community members from 4 p.m. Minister of Foreign Affairs Honorable Mark Brantley has cited a failure of diplomacy for the reason behind citizens of the Federation requiring a visa to travel to Canada. He said it is a misconception to think that requiring a visa is a good thing.
It is not a good thing. And all the members of this government are aware of the number of nationals who have come to say they have loved ones who have died, they have celebrations happening in Canada, but they cannot get the visa. And so while some sought to persuade us that requiring a visa was a good thing, you and I know that that is not a good thing for our country. And so we continue to engage with the Canadians.
The foreign minister said his ministry has been engaging Canadian officials in regards to the visa requirement, but has recently had some setbacks.
The Prime Minister of Canada, in the last few weeks, decided to reshuffle his cabinet. And the two people that were most important to us, Stéphane Dion, the foreign minister, is no longer foreign minister. He has gone, I believe, to be the ambassador to the European Union. And then the other gentleman, Mr. McCollum, whom the Prime Minister and I met with in Ottawa, he was the man in charge of immigration, and we were working well with him. He too has been removed and has gone to China to be the ambassador to China. So I say all that to say that we have new people in place, and so we must go at the appropriate time to meet and to engage the new leaders of those ministries to move this process forward.
On November 22, 2014, Canada implemented the visa requirement on St. Kitts and Nevis due to concerns about the issuance of passport and identity management practices within the Citizenship by Investment program. After the break, Prime Minister Harris thanks those who have assisted in the first 2 years of Team Unity's administration, and police investigate a break-in at a jewelry store at Port Zante. We'll tell you more when we come back. During a church service to mark the beginning of the government's anniversary week of activities, Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris paid homage to a number of persons for their support during his 2 years of leadership. One of those persons is Governor General His Excellency Sir S.W. Tapley Seaton, GCMG CVO QCJP, who Prime Minister Harris described as someone who has played an integral part in his life since assuming office in February 2015.
Under his tutelage, I have heeded many wise counsel, and I want to thank him for his support. And I intend to be more regular at his knees, seeking wise counsel and drawing upon his experience. As we commemorate our second anniversary, I must acknowledge publicly that without the wise support, the regular and consistent availability of His Excellency, the successes which we lay our claim to would not have come.
Dr. Harris also recognized his cabinet colleagues and others for their contribution to him and the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
I thank all of the cabinet colleagues for their support, for working truly as a team, bringing our different skills, capacities, temperaments together in service to a country that we all love. I want to say thank you to the senior officers of the government, our ambassadors, and we have both those who are in service directly to the Team Unity administration and those who are designated in service by their own governments to serve and report on the relationship between St. Kitts and Nevis and their country.
Prime Minister Harris also used the occasion to recognize former Governor Sir Probin Innes and Lady Innes, who joined in the celebrations. He also recognized citizens and residents, noting that the greatest thank you is extended to them. He said, quote, "I want to say thank you and hope that what we were able to accomplish in your name to date has been satisfactory," end quote. The police are investigating a break-in and theft at First Class Jewelry in Basse-Terre. The incident occurred sometime between 3 a.m. and 4:30 a.m. on Monday. According to a police report, the thieves broke into the store and removed merchandise including jewelry, perfumes, handbags and electronics. Zaraizan understands that the officers found a security guard tied up. He was reportedly responding to noises in the area. Technicians from the Forensic Services Unit have canvassed the scene for evidence and the investigation continues. The police are urging the community to be mindful that buying stolen items are against the law. International social skills consultant and crime reduction specialist Dr. Niels Chaitan made a call for teenagers to not smoke marijuana as it is a mind-altering drug which affects the development of the brain. Chaitan said it reduces thinking, memory and learning functions and how the brain builds connections between the areas necessary for these functions. Speaking at the National Crime Reduction Symposium on Thursday, Dr. Chaitan said that he has witnessed the ruining of young minds due to smoking marijuana and encouraged adults to not give it to the teenagers, in particular teenage boys, as they are in their formative stage. The crime reduction specialist referred to an article that spoke about teenagers who smoke weed, noting that it damages their brain for life and that they may be more likely to develop schizophrenia. Dr. Chaitan warned that using psychoactive drugs do not solve problems. He reminded parents and teachers to act as positive role models in the lives of teenagers and to do all in their power to ensure that they walk the straight and narrow path. He said every time such information is presented, persons often disagree, but noted that there is evidence to prove that the use of marijuana is dangerous, especially to teenagers. The Antioch Baptist Church is holding its youth elections this week for various positions within the ABC Amplify Youth Ministry. Here's more.
As the church gets ready for the elections this weekend, the preliminary events are shaping up similarly to the federal elections. Supervisor of Elections Tivins Coker said voter registration has been going smoothly and the candidates have been in contact with the electorate to help with the voting process and promote their party.
We are presently encouraging the candidates to make sure they review the list, because they also do have a copy of the list, so they know who the voters are, make sure the names are correct, make sure that they approach the relevant persons to let them know of their promises and the plans that they have ahead.
Team Stronger Church is led by Terence Drew Jr. and Team Victorious is led by Dijon Carty. Both leaders took part in a debate at the church on Sunday night, fielding questions from a moderator about their plans for the church. Meanwhile, the members of the church have commended the idea of holding elections to introduce the youth to the process.
This is a really good experience that Pastor and the church is allowing for all of the children to experience. And I think that the competition between Terence and Dijon is really good.
You get to know what the youth are thinking, and it helps them to develop their skills in communicating with people.
The youngsters get the opportunity to present their portfolio, and I'm really hoping that the members will give them the support that they need.
Early voting has already been taking place, but voting for the majority of the electorate begins at 7:30 on the 17th of February. Jason Davis for ZIZ News.
Coming up, training health for science teachers in St. Lucia. The details when we come back. In St. Lucia, science teachers have benefited from a unique program organized by UNESCO on innovative instruction in the classroom. Here's more.
Science teachers around the island have been learning new approaches to the teaching of science in the classroom. The efforts to promote science education was undertaken as a two-day UNESCO Global Microscience Experiments Project workshop was held recently at the Finance Administrative Building in Castries. Representative for the St. Lucia National Commission for UNESCO, Caroline Felix Ogi, says the initiative helps make the learning of science more exciting.
The concept of the project is to introduce to science teachers and schools a new hands-on approach to the teaching and learning of science by targeting different levels in the education process, from the primary, secondary, and tertiary sections to policymakers. This microscience method provides new teaching tools which will contribute to capacity building even in areas where we have no labs.
Minister for Education, Innovation, Gender Relations and Sustainable Development, the Honorable Dr. Gil Rigobert, emphasized the importance of promoting capacity building of science teachers in order to make students more interested in the subject.
Today's initiative is a critical step in ensuring that the next generation of St. Lucians will be well equipped to develop that scientific impulse, to feed that desire to know, to discover, to learn, and to explore.
The project is being funded for the St. Lucia National Commission for UNESCO under the UNESCO Participation Program 2016-2017. As part of the initiative, the National Commission for UNESCO presented microscience experiment project kits to the 8 education districts on the island. From the Communications Unit of the Ministry of Education, Innovation, Gender Relations and Sustainable Development, I am Fernal Neptune reporting.
Haiti's Prime Minister-elect Jean Charles has resigned to allow the country's new president to form a new government. Jean Charles, who was appointed in March last year by interim President Jocelyn Privé, submitted his letter of resignation on Friday 9th, 2 days before Jovenel Moïse was sworn in as the French-speaking nation's new president. Moïse has already begun consultations to choose a successor for Jean Charles. Reports in the local media have indicated that businessman Oliver Barreau and former Senator Gabriel Fortuné are among those rumored to be in the running. Moïse does not need parliamentary approval to choose a new prime minister under a constitutional amendment that came into effect as he took office, although whoever is chosen needs the approval of the legislature for his policies. Coming up, thousands of Mexicans demonstrate against Donald Trump. The details when we come back. Tens of thousands of Mexicans have demonstrated against U.S. President Donald Trump. Many Mexicans are angry about Trump's claims that they take advantage of the U.S. in trade and migration. They also denounced the planned border wall that the U.S. president expects Mexico to pay for. Here's more.
This is the first time that there's been mass protests against Donald Trump in Mexico, and it really marks the point in which the promises of his campaign, building a border wall that he expects Mexico to pay for, import tariffs on Mexican goods heading to the US, and mass deportation of Mexican migrants are starting to look like they could be a reality under President Trump. And that's really what the people here have gathered to denounce.
And it's just putting it in words, this hate that he seems to have for us when we've never done anything to the United States.
As you can see, there are almost as many flags and banners against Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto as there are against Trump. And that really reflects that a lot of people here think that he hasn't stood up to Donald Trump as much as he should have done.
Unfortunately, we have seen a timid way to approach the relationship or this new relationship with the U.S. and we are demanding precisely that he has a clear position on what are our main demands and how to protect the Mexican people.
President Peña Nieto has started to take a tougher tone lately, condemning the planned wall and cancelling a planned trip to the US. The government's also earmarked $50 million to protect Mexicans' rights in the US. These people are reminding their government that it will be held to account if it doesn't get a good deal for Mexico. They're singing the national anthem, and you can see that the flags are waving behind me, and that's really a reflection of the fact this isn't just about Mexico's interests, it's also about national pride and dignity. They feel insulted by the way that Donald Trump has talked about their country.
International monitors say the fighting in eastern Ukraine over the past week was the most violent in more than a year, threatening an already fragile ceasefire. Pro-Russian separatists are fighting the government in the eastern Donbas region. Residents in the village of Spartak in the self-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic say they don't want to be evacuated because they are scared of the people looting their homes. More in this report.
Svetlana shows us where she and her family used to live. We were in the cellar for most of 2014, then 3 shells landed around the house, she says. That was when the bombing started to get really bad. Svetlana and her 15-year-old daughter, Marina, are among around 75 people who still live in Spartak, on the outskirts of Donetsk. But as is the case across the front line in Ukrainian military-controlled areas, shells have been landing in civilian areas here, too. Svetlana and Marina take us to the basement of a deserted neighbour's home. This is where they live now, along with the father of the family, Vladimir. She says her daughter is struggling to cope. When the shelling started 3 years ago, she says, Marina was terrified by the explosions. She was hysterical. I tried to calm her down with medicine, but now she seems sometimes indifferent and sometimes very afraid. Doctors come twice a month. A psychiatrist told me she needs time. In a nearby street we find Sveta. She has family living across the front line. In recent days, the shells were landing closer and closer again, she says. The Organization for Security and Economic Cooperation in Europe has been trying to monitor repeated ceasefire attempts. It says both sides are using heavy caliber weapons in violation of a 2015 ceasefire agreement that was supposed to initiate a political settlement. At another home, this woman says what seems to be a type of anti-tank shell hit her home and luckily failed to explode. There was no warning. Before, we could often identify the bombs because of the whistling sound. You can hear the mortars, but these weapons, no. The sound of shelling and heavy machine gun fire can be heard in the distance. The fighting intensifies later in the day. More than 2 years after an internationally brokered ceasefire was signed in a bid to try and start some sort of peace process, some sort of political settlement, the violence in this area continues. Charles Stratford, Al Jazeera, Spartak, in the self-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic.
Up next in sports, world number 2 tennis player struggles with sponsorship, and Magic Johnson happy to be back with the Lakers. Stay tuned. World number 2 player Angelique Kerber won 2 Grand Slam titles and a silver medal at the Rio Olympics last year. But despite establishing herself as one of the top players in the world, the German has struggled to attract big money sponsorship. Here's more.
Last year, Angelique Kerber established herself as one of the top players in the world. She won more prize money than any of her opponents, claimed 2 Grand Slam titles and briefly became world number 1. But the nearly $10 million she earned in prize money is just a fraction of what other players earn through endorsements. And Kerber says she wants to do more outside the game to increase her profile.
Tennis is my life, what I'm playing like the last years, and this will be always my priority. But to find the middle way to do also something different off court, everybody has to find the way where you feel good.
Angelique Kerber is centre stage here at the Qatar Open, but even if she builds on her successes of 2016, it doesn't guarantee she'll get the sponsorship deals she might expect. Serena Williams is the most dominant player in the game. She's won 23 Grand Slams and has received $14.7 million on average for the past 3 years from endorsements. Compare that to Maria Sharapova, who's won 18 fewer slams, but has earned more than Williams, averaging $21.7 million over the same period. And then there's Caroline Wozniacki. She's never won a Grand Slam, but has pocketed $9.2 million on average since 2014. Kerber has only been regarded as one of the world's best since last year. Some branding analysts say she needs to develop her appeal.
She's still developing her personal brand equity, as a branding analyst such as myself might put it. She's had a lot of career success already. She's already in the top 20 in terms of lifetime earnings amongst female tennis players. There are other factors that come into play that can really boost a player's earnings. Perhaps disappointing to some, sex appeal or the attractiveness of the player is one of those factors. It affects both men and women, but it's particularly apparent in the women's game.
The women's tour has also used the glamour of its players to promote its product. Its 2012 Strong is Beautiful campaign saw the world's top players in action while wearing party dresses. Kerber herself says she'd be open to doing such things in the future.
It's nice because it's something different and it's not standard.
Kerber does have deals with the likes of Porsche and Adidas. She's also gained over 500,000 Facebook likes since the start of last season. And while winning more titles doesn't promise a boost in marketability, it certainly won't do her prospects any harm. Sohail Malik, Al Jazeera, Doha.
Russia's Maria Savinova-Marnosova has been stripped of her London 2012 Olympic gold medal and banned for 4 years after clear evidence was found that the 800-meter champion used performance-enhancing drugs.
A Russian athlete has been banned from international competition for 4 years. According to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, investigators found clear evidence in the biological passport that Maria Savinova-Varnosova used doping practices dating back to 2010. The Russian runner has been stripped of her Olympic gold medal from the 2012 London Games. Savinova-Varnosova has also had a world title and 2 other medals annulled. Those include her 2011 world title, a world silver medal from 2013, and her European gold medal from 2010. However, the International Olympic Committee had not decided if her London Games gold will be reallocated to the runner.
Basketball icon Magic Johnson is now returning to the Los Angeles Lakers as an advisor to the owner. Here's more.
Magic Johnson has had an illustrious past career with the LA Lakers. Johnson is known for leading the Lakers to 5 NBA titles during his Hall of Fame career, including being a 12-time All-Star and 3-time MVP. A love like that is hard to give up, and that's why Johnson is now returning to the Los Angeles Lakers as an advisor to the owner. When asked by CBS News if he's ready to get back into NBA craziness, Johnson responded, "The only team I would go back for is the Lakers."
When we come back, we'll have another look at the stories that made the headlines.
Love is in the air at Courts. Make your credit purchase of $499 and over for your big chance at winning an all-inclusive weekend getaway for 2 to the lovely island of St. Lucia. Plus, when you shop, you pay nothing for 30 days. This offer valid from February 6 to 18. Love is in the air, so celebrate with a romantic weekend getaway. Don't wait. Shop at Courts today. Courts, bringing value home.
Recapping the top stories, gospel concert kicks off government's anniversary week of activities. Government officials meet with residents at town hall meeting in Nevis. And Minister Bransley gives an update on efforts to re-establish visa-free travel with Canada. And that's the end of the ZIZ Channel 5 newscast. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carla Barrage. Goodbye.